Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have wait, that's not Mike Young. Guys, it's we have a new guest in Loyota who, if you don't know him, he does a lot of work for FlyQuest, mainly the Academy roster as an analyst and as a scout. And so, first, we're really happy and excited to have you on the desk, Loyota. We do have our set between Zeus Gaming and No Org coming up in just a few minutes. What are kind of the main lane matchups that you're looking at in this series here?
For this series, what I'm really looking at is from No Org. They're, of course, a top-centric team, but the way they get it done is by having big, fine timers from bot lane, whether it's just from getting like a crash or the wave is coming back into them. He goes through mid. He helps Fire, who usually has a priority mid. They push, they go top, and they get a lead for Viper. And then for Zeus Gaming, this team is a little bit different because RBM kind of does these like little quick jungle plays, and they can get leads that way. But the main issue is when the enemy jungler can just kind of path normally, and then they just get a self-advantage like we saw in COGA Game 1. And that definitely can happen against the guy who's really good, Anda. And yeah, we'll see how that goes today.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to jump in on that fact because we've seen No Org be by far the most dominant team in amateur the entire Proving Ground circuit and through the past 3 Tier 2 tournaments. They did technically lose this matchup the last time they faced back in Risen quarterfinals, but I think we can all agree that was before.
That was a long time ago.
We
had a No Org that was not playing really well. We also had a different jungler here, so I look at this, I see this is basically a completely new matchup for them. And I'm looking for No Org because, like Loyota said, they do love to play towards this top side. We're starting to see a little bit of change for them. We got to see that Elise versus Maryville. They still got the win, but it was a little bit more suspect than maybe we would have expected, especially for someone like Anda. And they seem like they're trying to now empower their bot lane, allow Value and Big to really start to take control of the map. So I'm wondering whether or not that was a simple series adaptation versus Barrage, or if this is something that they're going to continue to kind of mold and kind of shape towards their gameplay to allow them to play multiple different styles.
Yeah, that would be... because Viper's not just like, we have to play the Viper every single game, right?
No.
This guy can definitely play more reserved, like up to like the 8-9 minute mark where they go for Herald, and then they can actually make plays in bot lane. Though it is interesting enough that the bot lane has Pocket Rhino, who tries to play aggressive. And then here, I mean, this is Viper Alorm. I mean, you can see that like the KDA difference from Alorm is massive, but I mean, this guy plays like weak side like all the time. It's kind of
weak side king. This is a team's like best dream right here. You have a top laner who's willing to pick Malphite. I'm sure like it's like every like maybe ego top laner, if they're new, they're just like, I want to play carries, play strong side, please let me carry. And Alorm's like, yes sir, let me pick this Malphite, yes sir, I will play Urgot as well. I'll play a bunch of kind of unstandard top lanes. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing that we have to consider is that these are the stats for within this UGP tournament. So, and Alorm has definitely within the games that he has played against CLG Academy and Supernova have proven to be a dominant force in those games in particular. But against to kind of frame it in the most polite form, he was playing against Cavell, which is not one of the stronger top laners within this amateur scene. And then going against Tien. Tien has shown to be a strong carry top laner, but he doesn't get a lot of coordination and love from CLG Academy. Normally he's been put weak side, even though they give him stuff like the Jace and the Riven in the past. So Alorm was able to handily deal with him in lane, and then just have a strong impact in these skirmishes and fights towards the mid game. And I think the biggest thing that we have to consider as well here, Loyota, is that even though more than likely we will see like a top lane focused game plan from No Org, Alorm is one of the better players to play weak side for, as it's going to be kind of a benchmark test for him to see how well he can absorb 1v2, 1v3 dives as we get into this first game soon.
Yeah, definitely. His pool is very oriented towards doing that. We saw CLG try to ban stuff like Swain and Scion that are a little bit more unique in the top side. But for today, like, we'll see. Like, these picks are not exactly unbeatable, right? They just want to try to get him off comfort.
One of those things as well. And Alec, I kind of want to get your thoughts about. I know we've talked a lot about this this top lane matchup between Lorm and Viper a lot, but when we look at kind of the flip side on the other side of the map, you know, is Value and Big versus Raheen and Pocket Rhino. And, you know, Value has traditionally played a really weak side bottom lane, and he's always been a strong team fight role player for this team. But then when you look at someone like Raheen, if for the side of Zeus Gaming is able to prioritize some type of lane dominant AD carry for him, I know I think it was, oh my gosh, Invert was talking about how like Raheen has a Pocket Draven pick that we haven't.
We're
seen
not
him
seeing
bust
it,
out
man.
yet.
Look, just get it out of the
Let
way.
him
We're not
pick
gonna.
the Draven, please.
We're not seeing fun AD carries. It's okay. We don't need any of that. It's just going to be the same thing. We've also seen him play a lot of Senna, so. Against someone like Value, who's probably going to try and prioritize stuff like Seraphine, I think that trying to not dominate this bot lane is going to be very difficult, especially if they can't unlock Pocket Rhino to either punish him being alone in lane or kind of match Big around the map.
Well, we're gonna have to find out and see. I know a lot of us are kind of expecting No Org to take the series win over, but you know, I would be pleasantly surprised and happy to see Zeus Gaming, you know, show a little competitiveness in this series and being able to take at least one game off, you know, or maybe they'll just surprise us completely and continue their run through the upper bracket. But I am getting word that the draft is ready for game 1, and Kangas and Coco are on standby to take us away.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you, Rafa, for that great breakdown of the analyst. It's cool to see a new analyst coming in as well from FlyQuest. I think it's awesome to give some more limelight to some of the guys behind the scenes that don't often get noticed. But I am your play-by-play for the day. Kangas joined by Coco the Dragon as my color caster. Coco, 2 days in a row for us, 2 days of fun games. This one in particular is one I have been looking forward to. We got No Org versus Zeus, two teams that have a lot of history together.
Yeah, and it is a very bloody history as well. Multiple series played on top of them, and Zeus is just sort of eking over the edge and in a slight advantage just on matchups, but it's not something that competitively is really going to give them an upper hand in this. No Org is the dominant amateur team, and by my opinion is the best amateur team by a very wide margin. So the fact that Zeus does have that slight win-loss ratio in their side of the court, it gives them that nice confidence boost to go into this series. But going into that, I'd say it's more of the fact that their creativity is really just breaking apart a lot of the formidable like defenses and macro plays that No Org really loves to play around.
Exactly. And again, for everybody, it's a 3-7 head-to-head record between a best-of-5 and a best-of-3 series of these two teams. So Zeus just slightly eking out there. You brought up Zeus, their unorthodox playstyle. So originally we were going to talk about No Org, but let's just segue into Zeus right there, because I think that let's address that. What is this unorthodox playstyle that we've come to expect from them?
Yeah, it's something where their playstyle going into the top end and really focusing Alarum in getting him online and getting his carries is not something that's untraditional. It's the picks within them, the Urgots, the Malphites, and then the Kayn picks, and so on and so forth. Seraphine Mins as well. Yeah, and we're not even touching on, like the Pocket Rhinos from Poppy support, Yuumi as well. And this is where all that creativity could just get blown out of proportion because they know how chaotic it gets No Org's entire mindset going into this series. I would be surprised if we were able to pick up a Caitlyn Morgana from the side of Zeus Gaming, so keep an eye out for that one as well. As we have already entered the pick and ban phase, you can already see some of those niche picks that are Zeus sort of flavor pickups already taken away.
And the reason we highlight the unorthodox playstyle and picks of Zeus is because No Org has shown that that's when they drop games, when they are playing against things that they're not prepared for and they haven't prepped their draft around. But already addressing that, like you said, they say no Malphite right off the bat. They saw the games last night of Zeus versus CLGA, and they said, nope, we do not want to deal with that one. But I guess also more focused on the mid lane here, trying to pinch Darkwing's champion pool. When we look at the strength of Zeus Gaming, it's a lot around topside. Alarum really is the star player here, and Darkwings having his champion pool pinch a little bit could be a worrying, aspect for Zeus Gaming to now draft around.
It's just by a small hair there, and what also helps out is because of how formidable Darkwings is in that mid lane. He's the old reliable. He's the one that's always going to be able to perform to his utmost best, no matter who he is up against. So banning out a lot of those cover picks for him is also a really good sort of Achilles heel for No Org to be slicing at in this first phase. But with all of that said and done and going into the first pickups here, this is where I want to be seeing, all right, with the Kai'Sa grab, a lot of that focus onto the bottom side of the map. We sort of discussed earlier in the broadcast that Value has a pretty big discrepancy against Raheen in a sense of effective champion pool. Taking Kai'Sa away also makes sure that Raheen will not have that comfort pick to go into the team fighting situations later on throughout the games. And already you can sort of see some sort of inklings going on with Zeus Gaming, as Kalista is the immediate R1 for that counter pick against Kai'Sa, and there's still a lot of bruiser supports that she can pair it up with.
A lot of bruiser supports. When I think of Kalista, I think of a champion that can really get leads in the laning phase. And when I look at Zeus Gaming, I see them play around dragons a lot throughout the game. Kalista is also fantastic at establishing priority around that lane and then pressuring for those early drakes. So we'll have to keep track of that, as well as the Udyr locked in. Just a standard meta pick. We've seen a lot of him. We understand what he does. But still, this is... whatever they pair the Kalista with will provide more engage. There's a lot of potential for Zeus to go in with already their first 2 picks.
I do have a little bit of my subconscious talking to me saying, don't take that Kalista into the bot lane just yet. It could be a flex up to Alarum. He has been sort of playing fire with fire and saying, you know what, Viper, you've been playing some range matchups on the top side of the map. If you give me a good top lane situation where I can throw Kalista up there, we might be able to see some real chaos happening up there between the two former LCS veterans. And into this situation, the other concern right now is that there are currently supports and I'd have to say maybe a couple top laners that are still yet to be addressed. Gnar was one of them that you can be comfortable in, and I think with that Gnar pickup, No Org is respecting the fact that Kalista could be swapped and flexed up into that top side.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to play the Kalista into that Gnar if you know that this is going to be the matchup here. So Gnar, just a safe blind pick, but this does mean that both solo lanes are blind picks here for No Org. Kind of rare to see on the blue side. Oftentimes you'll want to save at least one of those counter picks for later on, but they feel confident, say, nope, we've already banned away 2 mid laners. Zeus Gaming will pick up that Zoe as that kind of 3rd string, 4th string, I guess, if you want to say TF is up there as well. So they're still feeling comfortable with that matchup into the Azir.
And for right now, I'm still worried for the overall picture of Zeus Gaming. They've got some interesting individual pickups. The Zoe with her own, with her actual control over neutral objectives within the darkness that she will have in the jungle. Udyr with that extreme power clear, but it doesn't tell me that big picture like what No Org has, where they're already going heavily for that team fighting style, having Viper as that hard flanker, and then you're going to be having Big, who will possibly picking up either a roaming support like a Nautilus or an Alistair, which is still on the table, and sort of creating a strong mid-game performance. So for right now, going into this, we have a lot of advantages on the side of No Org to really come out on top in this initial draft, where Zeus has to play catch up a little bit and make sure that the surprise factor is still always in their back pocket.
For me, it's all going to be decided on what this top lane matchup will turn into, because that was the highlight that we had during the analyst desk, is Alarum versus Viper. Who's going to come out on top? Because these are 2 of the most experienced players in this entire Tier 1 event for UGP. So Gnar can get abused by some picks, and there we go. Alarum's champ pool showing up here. We get a Wukong in game number 1.
Yeah, Wukong is a fairly strong counter against Gnar just when you hit that level 6 power spike, because he can just make mini Gnar stick right on top of him. It's very difficult for him to just hop away, and that trading capability will be very oppressive once he gets there. But you're still going to have Viper have that upper hand because of the range situation that Gnar will provide in those earlier stages. So that's where I'll be looking at RBM to see how much lane presence this Udyr is really going to provide, as there we go, the roaming support coming in from Big with that Nautilus. All they're trying to clean out next is that final jungle pick, which they at least get to counter because RBM has already picked the Udyr.
But the problem is, things like Lilia and Elise are already taken off the table, so if you want that AP jungler to pair with the AD top lane, it's really just Nidalee. They do lock in the Nidalee. Can be a rough matchup into that Udyr, because if Udyr can get on top of you, it could be some trouble when you have a Zoe Trouble Bubble following up and the Paddle Star as well. So yeah, I mean, No Org, they still want it though. They still need that extra bit of AP somewhere, and now we get to see what Zeus Gaming lock in for their final pick in support to pair with Kalista into that Nautilus and Kai'Sa. I like this. The Rel makes a lot of sense. Just more engage options.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing that you can really go for right now to close out your composition and sort of frame the entire painting that, to me, is just a bunch of different colors thrown on top of each other, sort of splattered onto the canvas and saying, all right, this is our composition, No Org, what do you interpret of it? And No Org saying, well, that's nice and all, but we actually have something that's much more traditional, very familiar to the current patch with the with sort of that counter argument to where Kai'Sa, I prefer the Jinx in that own department, but it's still something that you're very team fight focused. Once you get to the later stages of the game, 5 fire and value are always going to be in your back pocket for those late investments, and you have the power couple of Viper and Onda who will still have that turret diving capability. Sure, it's not as great as a Renekton in Italy, but Nara in Italy, once you hit 6, will give you a lot of that top jungle presence and top lane advantages as well.
And if you're trying to play aggressive as Alarin, playing the Wukong into the Gnar, that counter matchup, you have to be careful of an Italy coming in, because Wukong does not have a lot of magic resist base. He does get hit by those spears very, very hard. So if Onda decides to play around the top side, which historically they do a lot. We were talking with the head coach of Barrage, Lucian, earlier, and he was saying that this might just be the best top half of the map in all of the Tier 1 tournaments right now, just between Viper and Onda. So you got to be careful if you're Alarim. Don't go too aggressive, but you still need to do something with this counter matchup. So pressure's on.
Yeah, and even in the past 2 series that we've already seen dish out today in the Grand Prix, with C9 Amateur losing out to Winthrop, and then of course Solo Fide also getting that 2-0 against TSM Academy, drafts have been very crucial in their own senses, right? Because like with this one, Zeus, you're playing into that play style, very unique, very niche, but it doesn't really give me a complementary or a real good satisfaction. Where for me, No Org, traditional, and this is where I sort of have to get a little bit of some craftsmanship going on and sort of measure out the differences between these 2 drafts. And
is
right
there
now,
a draft gap right now, Coco? Is that what you're trying to tell? Is that what you're leading up to?
Let me.
Oh. What's the measurement?
It's okay.
How's it measuring?
It's average. So for right now, and average pretty much tells us that it is still up for the fates to decide, right? Where No Org they get exactly what they want, where it's very set in that macro structure, and Zeus gets to play spicy and gets to sort of throw in that chaotic fire and that spark every now and then, and it is really going to be up to how both Alarim and Viper really interact in that laning phase, as the analyst desk has really sort of ingrained into our minds. And then on the bottom side, it's that massive question mark of Raheen and Rhino. Will they be able to beat out this much more traditional Kai'Sa and Nautilus situation?
And how much is Big going to look to roam here? Because yes, your Nautilus, Big, we know he's a support that likes to get out of lane and help impact 5 fire in particular. Because 5 fire, like, if Viper's the primary star carry on the side of No Org, 5 fire is right, just one notch below as that secondary rock solid player that will always be able to perform. And Big likes to help him out in the laning phase. If you leave Kai'Sa alone against the likes of a Rel Kalista, especially if they're level 6, very dangerous proposition. So I'm curious what Rhino's strategy is going to be here. If you're trying to hard punish the roams from Big by just going in on the Kai'Sa, or if instead you're going to try and match them yourself. Because, you know, Rel also a fantastic champion at getting out of lane. Looks like we're already loaded on the Summoner's Rift, everybody. Ready for game number 1 of this best of 3 series. A little reminder for everybody, doing some housekeeping here. The winner of this series will auto-qualify for the Proving Ground Circuit. Top 4 here in UGP will get in. And this is the semifinals of the winner's bracket. So if you get in here, you're guaranteed at least a top 4 position. So there's a lot on the line for this one. And these are 2 very closely matched teams.
Well, closely matched in skill level, but again, that record, right? Because as you mentioned, whoever is able to win this series gets to the top 4, guaranteed PGC. And if you look at their previous history, No Org has 3 first place. They were able to come out on top in Cup group stages. They were able to come out on top on Big League as well. And then, of course, with Risen, they were on that upper arch of the playoffs and the group stages, but weren't able to really get their footing at that moment in time, where on the other side, it's Zeus, who's 5th and 8th in their playoffs performance in Cup. And it's not something that you're proud to wear on your chest. And yeah,
they
exactly.
They make top
big.
4 in Big or in Cup, and they got 4th place with Risen after forfeiting their 3rd place match. But when we look at end of season standings, No Org look like they're the better team, right? They're definitely the top dogs here. But that head-to-head matchup, man, we just keep coming back to it. But let's do some more due diligence here, Coco, as we have loaded onto the Rift. Let's focus in on what's happening on the screens in front of us right now. Early game focus from both of these teams. What are we expecting from No Org? What are we expecting from Zeus? Because you already prefaced a little bit, No Org, they have a little bit of scaling they can work towards, so they might not be too pressured to make things happen early.
Yeah, and both of these junglers are totally fine with power clearing through their first initial set throughout the jungle and not really looking into either one another's sides or even looking for any laning presence until something really starts to get out of hand. I love that we're keeping our eye on Viper and Alarim because look at how volatile it can be already. Alarim dishing back blow for blow while Viper is just throwing back to her.
Wait, that's first blood!
Wait, whoa!
Coco!
I think I'm lagging a bit. I'm gonna have to hit refresh.
Viper definitely did not expect that. He thought, I'm in Meganar, I can handle this, but Alarim understanding the matchup. Well done.
Oh my goodness, great call, and exactly what we were saying, the volatility of Alarim and Viper. I was giving Viper the benefit of the doubt with that range matchup and bullying Alarim a little bit more, but hey, the Monkey King is able to prove his own knowledge and is able to come out on top early on, and that attracts a lot of eyes up here with Anda.
Oh, he might think he's safe. He drops the word. Oh, no. Oh, Anda actually comes out of the vision a little bit there. They got to go for this dive. Flash is available on Viper. He's looking for it. Oh, the spear is blocked. Alarim, no way he can turn it. Okay, yeah, I was going to say, if he gets another kill, that is insane. Not meant to be, so it will be a traded kill back. Anda picking up that one.
Yeah, thankfully for Alarim, he's saying, you know what, you got the assist, not the kill for Viper, so I can still come back with a slight economic advantage, but it'll give Anda a bit more confidence. Man, the action is just not stopping.
He might just flash bear stun here. Oh, no, 5-fire over the wall. Out of mana, so does get out.
This is the chaos we need if you're really cheering for Zeus today. Already having the first blood go over in a solo matchup with Alarim and Viper, and then RBM, that was a smite steal, I'm pretty sure. That was it. He is, if he gets in the head of Anda, this game one might just be set in stone, but we've yet to have that determined.
And that's another thing. When we were talking about this game earlier on, when we were doing our prep work, we were thinking Anda has just been jungle gapping pretty much everybody in the Tier 2 tournaments so far. RBM, this guy's retiring from TFT. He's coming in here kind of fresh right now, and now finds himself a whole 10 CS up over Anda in the early game, doing things like smite stealing a Scuttle Crab, and in a fantastic position early on. Not what we necessarily expected going into this series.
So I want this early snowballing from RBM and the rest of Zeus to continue the pressure and really start shifting some more gears here. Sure, you got one chicken stolen away there from Anda, but this is where looking at that bottom lane performance, something that's a little bit of a question mark. We haven't talked about it too much just yet because of all the action that has already happened on the top side. Raheen went exhaust, by the way, on this Callista, and they are very pressured forward in this bottom end, which will give a lot of a leniency to RBM to possibly take out a solo Drake for himself. Udyr is totally fine with going for that kind of option and paddling down there. They just need to make sure Anda isn't in the vicinity to try and challenge a 50-50 and attract any more eyes to that side of the map.
Rhino pressing W. I think the idea there is, now you can go into horsey form and look for the engage here a little bit better. RBM is coming in as well. They focus in onto Big. The Nautilus is the target. Flash bear stun. And Raheen gets another kill. Alarim's in trouble topside, though. Viper just gets a solo kill. No idea how that one started, but that is surprising.
That was what I was expecting the laning phase from Gnar and Wukong to be, where Mini Gnar just absolutely bullies Wukong into submission and is able to pick up that kill. But now with that 1-for-1 trade, also going in with the bottom side with RBM getting that flash bear slap, we're just going to have to check how this solo lane really came into fruition.
Minions. This is past minions, Coco.
Yep. Well, this is just how obnoxious Hyper is on Gnar. It's just 1-2, hey, I have a Vayne Silver Bolts pretty much on a top laner, so it's just not fun to deal with. But with all of that consequence going into the game and going into the next few minutes, we have to look at how Raheen and Rhino will again position themselves for the next few objectives to come, because these two teams, they do play objective focused. Anda and RBM can be very much quick on the draw when going to these dragons, and I can already see RBM beelining it to this dragon to see if he can get some additional prio and some vision control to make sure he can take it free of charge.
And also on the mid lane, there's a Shrima Shuffle, looks like on the mini-map. They get flash out of Dark Wings.
Okay.
Anda was pathing mid and looking for the gank right there, but...
Good call
You're right,
on that,
the
Candace.
dragon is potentially being started down here on the bottom side of the map. If we can take a look down there, just so we can confirm if the objective is being taken. Yep, okay, it is.
Yeah,
All right, there we go.
Can
It is being
confirm.
taken. Zeus will get that first dragon, and yeah, value big. They just have to catch that bot wave.
Yep. I respect the Shurima Shuffle attempt from 5Fire because he's trying to counteract the aggressive bottom lane plays that Raheen and Rhino are trying to force. He's saying, well, if you're going to get bottom lane pressure, I'm going to make sure that I can at least answer or try and help out Onda in prioritizing this Rift Herald when it comes up in the next minute. So with that, he just slightly eked out, but Darkwings was able to hold his own and is able to keep the lane in a neutral state, really favoring RBM, who's now able to counter jungle on that bottom side of the map and is totally fine with hitting a reset and then possibly challenging Onda when that Rift Herald spawns.
It is a trade of counter jungling. Onda at least is able to get that top half of the map, so both junglers just handshaking, saying, yep, vertical jungling happening currently. And you got to be careful if you're Alarum, though. You don't have your flash available. You do have ults, but Viper's stacking up that Mega. Now, they don't want to go for the dive. They see Darkwings was passing up there, too.
Yep, good disengagement from No Org. And I like that Onda is actually sort of prioritizing and threatening these top lane ganks.
Ooh,
it's not as active as you think, but
hard engage here onto the bot side. Big, yeah.
Hello.
He's just got out of position. Walking in his own jungle. He thinks he's safe, but no, Raheen and Rhino just walk up. They got multiple layers of CC, and they can lock down that Nautilus. That's a really valuable pickup for Raheen, because again, Kalista can bully a Kai'Sa. Kalista with 2 kills already at this stage of the game can absolutely run away with this lane. No Org need to get valued out of here so he can start scaling up somewhere else.
Well, not only two kills on his own, but also a 20 CS differential. He is the discrepancy between these two teams. 1k differential, it's all dumped into Raheen, so he's going to be able to cash in onto his mythic item in a very quick manner, and if that helps sort of position him to either prioritize more of these neutral objectives to make sure that they always have that presence to take the dragon, even if RBM is on the other side of the map, then it's going to help force No Org to play Zoo's game. And when No Org is forced to play their opponent's style, it's never come out in a good manner. And this is something where we have to check back into history of No Org's record. Sure, they've hit first place in Cup and in Big, and they had that shake up in Risen, but their journeys to these gold medals were not that challenging until maybe, say, in the playoff stages where they went up against Barrage, and they haven't even challenged Solafide yet in their history in the Tier 2. So knowing that
dropped
journey,
to Golden Guardians also, but again, that was like the jungle AP Twitch, which is like just kind of an oddball pick.
I'm glad that you pointed out, because it's something that's oddball. It's an oddball AP Twitch pickup, and they lost to that because they had to play and address that meta shifting style, and that's what Zeus is doing here right now in this game 1 of the series.
You are crediting No Org's draft, saying, yep, it's standard, you understand what it's trying to do, right? Whereas Zeus, it's a little more confusing, you know, they're not as straightforward in their game plan here, but that is benefiting them right now, as, you know, a solo kill into Alarum, now he's got a target on his bag, but that opens up the bottom half of the map, and now it's RBM actually going to the top side here, looking for Viper. A clean Mega Gnar ult, does not have to use that flash, which will be up shortly. And now RBM and Alarum running away. They see that sphere over the wall, so Onda's in the neighborhood. And both teams starting to posture around these Rift Heralds. We saw this happening a lot last night. Teams focusing this early Herald very, very heavily, sending multiple members up there. This time around, it does not look to be any different, other than AD carry still on the bottom side.
Yeah, but you got a little bit of a ticking timer here on this bottom side because of how Raheen is just constantly bullying out value. He's started to increase that gap, just about to eke onto 30 CS, but now with that wave crashing, it's going to close back into that 20. But with all of that pressure, Onda is able to, again, win this Herald side because Alarum doesn't have the mana or the resources to challenge this anymore. RBM could try and go for the 50-50, but he'd rather try and get that mid lane priority to keep Darkwings in that stable position so he can zone objectives later down the game.
Darkwing uses a frozen flash, now going in onto 5Fire. Can they get the slows? Rhino's nearby, but yeah, they can't quite get onto that Azir. They don't even get flash out of Azir either, so...
No, a bit unfortunate.
He's not finding anything there, but the Rift Herald is picked up by No Org, even though Rhino rotated up to the top half. I was talking about earlier in the pick and ban saying, yep, Big likes to roam, Nautilus can roam, but if you roam away from Kai'Sa, Kai'Sa against the Kalista and Rel, that's pretty much a death sentence. Rhino matches the roam, but they still lose the objective. So Not making the most of his time getting out of the lane, but still, we do see incremental leads for Raheem on the bottom half. And I think that that's really where Zeus is putting their pressure early on, and I expect them to focus this dragon that's spawning here in the next 10 seconds.
And it's something that's a little bit untraditional because of how their previous history has been more utility-focused carries, and then randomly popping out with Raheem's Callista and already 2-0 in this game, 12 minutes in, is a pretty fun change-up of their style and making sure that they have this upper hand, the surprise factor going into the series. The only other thing too right now is that Dragon is live. There's a lot of priority that No Org has in their back pocket because they have the TP advantage from Viper, and they have a lot of vision control on their own flanks. So they're trying to see if they can peek in and challenge RBM on this advantage, but Onda had reset, and that just forfeits this objective over to Zeus' side.
No Org, they might have been able to look to contest, but without their jungler there's just no chance. Vision control was already established by Zeus Gaming, so they have another clean dragon picked up. This is how this team plays. Yes, Alarum's oftentimes one of the star carries on the team, but they prioritize dragons more than anyone else. And I expect this to just continue going forward here throughout the series. They could probably take this turret also off of one, maybe two more waves just based on how this matchup has looked. So I'm wondering when No Org is going to shake things up, either get their bot lane rotating or go down and help them out.
Well, they got 50 seconds until turret plates fall apart, and Rift Herald is still in their back pocket to try and cash in on some of that economy that will whittle away. And at this time, they're not really positioning for it at all, though. Viper coming in with the TP.
No Org looking for the flank TP from Viper. He's got flash, he's got ultimate. I don't think he needs the flash. Oh, Raheem tries to jump back, but look at Value. He says, where you going? I got past you. And a shutdown over to Valued. Rhino's got nowhere to go either, so this should be another kill. Give it to the AD carry. Valued gets a double kill. No Org with a TP flank. Pull off the play.
And that TP advantage comes into fruition, maybe not for an objective, but for a power lead and a double kill for Value to get this AD carry online. And it's nothing else but beautiful. Sure, there was some CC that was able to stall out Viper's Gnar ultimate, but he was still able to land it, smacks it right on top of both Raheem and Rhino. There's nothing you can do. You don't have the sums to try and survive a 3 versus 2.
And right as I was saying, what is No Org going to do to get their bot lane out of this rough position? That's exactly what you want to see. They get a deep ward down that is a flanking teleport ward, standard play, and Zeus, they even had the sweeper, so Rhino, I don't know if it was off cooldown or where he had used that, but that's just something that teams need to be aware of. That is a standard bush for TP flanks to come in from. And Viper just happened to be in the Mega Gnar, so everything working out for No Org right there. They find themselves now with a slight gold lead, and suddenly that advantage that Raheem had built up for himself still exists in the item department for right now, as he's completed that Immortal Shield Bow, and they still can take this bottom turret, but it's no longer that mountain for Value to climb, and Kai'Sa is starting to come online as well.
Yep. Rift Herald was dropped in the mid lane so they could take this turret with ease, so Fire can pressure his advantage a bit farther into Zeus territory, but as you said, it's a 1-for-1 trade of those turret plates, and Alarum has been able to be on his own on this top island. And it's something that's so weird with the isolationism that comes with Alorum's play, that he loves being by himself, trying to go into these 1v1 matchups and putting Viper or any opponent that he's into this zone of false security, to where RBM can then come in with his much more abrasive style and then just get in there, get the couple of those kills, and then disengage back to those bottom side objective controls styles that they have. And No Org has found that complement and at least that counterpoint to that with that teleport that came in with Value. It's just now a question of going into that mid game, going back to how the draft is. This is where the composition that Zeus has, it's a lot of beautiful colors, but will it work in tandem?
Engage coming in here from Zeus. Good stream of shuffle. Trying to keep everybody back. Gnar stun as well. RBM flashing in. They got to take down Fire, but still doing so much damage to Raheem, who's got to be careful right now. Viper flashing forward. Gets the kill. It will be a 1-for-2 trade, but Viper picking up that Callista.
And it was a very stretched out fight to try and secure that 1-for-2 in No Org's side of the court, but Zeus coming out on top and also being able to take potentially this turret in the top side of the map. RBM is completely on his own, so this is as good as his, while Rhino now has to sprint to that bottom side and make sure that Alarum is not in any trouble.
Alarum's trying to take the fight here against Onda, who dodges the spear, but Big is playing bodyguard for Onda right now. Says, You don't get the 1v1 that you want, Wukong. Stridebreaker completed. Alarum does do some damage right now, but let's take another look at that play up here. Really well played by No Org to just stall it out. Yeah, they still lose 2 members, but at least they get the trade.
Yeah, though this goes back to the point I was discussing right before this fight came out, where Zoo's composition is very colorful. It has a lot of fun and niche picks, but how they complement each other and how they work in tandem when you get to these more complicated fights where it's 5v5s or 4v5s, that's where I start to question their power against No Org, who will have some better synchronicity. The only thing that they actually have in their court is actually how their players interact in those team fights. No Org is yet to be tested in very full-fledged 5-on-5 team fights, and that's where Zoo's composition being a lot more scrappier and chaotic and difficult to wrap your head around in those quick spur-of-the-moment fights could come out for their advantage.
No Org don't get pressured often in the 5v5s. They're usually just getting advantages in these like 1v1s or scrappy situations, and then they just have such a big gold lead when it comes time to 5v5 that even if they're not playing it perfectly, not making the cleanest plays, they still just win them out, right? But they don't have like a massive gold lead right now. They at least have inside track of this dragon, so they will stop that dragon stacking of Zeus, picking up their first mountain dragon of the game. Also getting some pressure on this bot turret. They might just take that one as well. It's going to be a few autos away, and objectives going around for No Org right now. They're feeling great as they're transitioning to the mid game. They've done a good job of just rotating around the map and picking things up away from Zeus.
And a turret on the bottom side as well for a Viper himself, who's been doing fairly well. 2 kills, 2 deaths, and has participated in every single kill that No Org has been able to pick up so far. And wow, does that tell a story for the top differentials of these teams? Sure, Alarum was able to...
What was that graphic we were looking at in the analyst stats? What was that kill participation? I don't know, we might need to update that one.
I think that, what was the KDA for Alarum was a little bit better, but Viper's KP was in, I think it was the 82% range, and it was only 68% for Alarum. So really showing you how active Viper can be on the map, and also how much Onda can pressure those lanes when he needs to. Though we're entering this dull stage of the game where neither of the teams have that capability to challenge or to seed effectively just yet. They need to play this very methodical vision game of finding picks, finding flanks, finding a TP flank ward for Viper to come in with a Mega Gnar ultimate, or for the same thing for Alarum, who is able to sneak past the defenses of No Org and able to get onto the backline of Fire and Value. And this is where those couple fights, those couple skirmishes, when those do happen, can really break open the game. But if you play this slow and steady game and just have a gentleman's agreement of trading turrets for turrets and farm for farm, it starts to get a little bit more worrying for No Org, because Zeus will be able to challenge and threaten Barons.
They have the Zoe, which is such a good tool for that in particular, but we might just see a fight break out here mid now. I thought maybe Viper would go for something crazy right there, or big, so we're not that ultimate, but Zeus do not get that mid turret. I'm really looking at Dark Wings as the player to focus on as we were at this stage of the game, because it doesn't seem like either of these teams are really willing to engage with their supports or their junglers or their top laners. It's going to come down to Dark Wings finding something like a Trouble Bubble into that Paddle Star, or even something like that, like these big chunks from these spheres. But here we go, finally the engage that we were looking for. Rhinos goes in, they already pick up the support, maybe they get Viper. Not quite, but still, Zeus exploding right there off of that first turret taken mid.
And a wonderful catch from Zeus to punish that overextension that Big was just trying to be that extra bulwark, that extra space for Fire, or for Value and Onta to hide behind. And from there, they're able to open up that map, play that war vision game a little bit more. They know that Baron has spawned, and they know that they can threaten it. Yes, No Org can cut down the Baron just as efficiently as Zeus in their compositions. They've got the Azir and the Kai'Sa for that, but Fire's actually found a flank.
RBM. He's pretty tanky. He might just get out. Oh, just barely not. That last soldier is enough. Unfortunate from RBM right there. He thought that he could contest for that blue buff, but Fire still had ultimate, and there's no way. They're actually going to start Baron.
I was just touching on this. Kai'Sa and Azir can really tear apart the Baron, but they both
Big
need
could be
to
in
be
some
on
trouble.
it.
Darkwing's got to get out of there. He is running. Fire trying to chase him down. Big flashed over the wall. Here we go. Darkwing's still in trouble. You gotta get out of there, man! Oh no, he's gonna go down after being golden here, just buying time, but the rest of the team can't find anything after that. No Org are still chasing down Zeus. They want Raheem. They want this Kalista. He's diking. He's dying. surviving. There's the engage over the wall. Alarum gets a kill on the Fire. Zeus are turning the fight on over the wall. He just wants Raheem. He just wants a Callista. They can't actually fight the carry, but there we go! Over the wall! Anda gets the double kill! The snipe of the spear barely picks up Raheen. It's Alarum going back and forth, not sure what to do right now, scratching his head saying, what went wrong?
And No Org finds a beautiful pick to start this all off. Fire finds that flanks, gets the Shurima Shuffle to condense everyone onto that top side, top quadrant of the map. And from there, it just gets absolute chaotic here. So this is where this was after that whole Shurima Shuffle debate happened. Fire reset, he teleported in. And this is that chase down. And because they're not able to stick onto one member and they have to stretch out their resources to try and keep Zeus in this close proximity, it allows Zeus to disengage, find a new position to defend themselves, and then immediately punish the overchase coming in from No Org. No Org didn't need to be here after they crossed that barrier of the mid lane. They could have called it a day, hit that mid lane, and potentially crashed and taken that tier 2 turret. But from this, it just becomes this equal trade of kill for kill, 9 kills to 9. And when you sort of come out to ask yourself, who really comes out on top? No one does. It's completely even once again. Everything statistically is dead even, and that is a bad sign for No Org because of how much they used to try and get an upper hand.
I think Zeus feel better about that one because they
For
stopped
sure.
the Baron
Like
and it was
ego,
a 4v5, right? Like RBM wasn't even on the map when that happened. But I guess we can answer that question a little more definitively now because No Org do get their second dragon. They're starting to stack up these mountain drakes, which will bolster their front line. The Nautilus getting tankier, the Gnar getting tankier as well.
Yeah.
And
so
now even in the dragon department.
So while we were sort of dissecting that replay, it was fairly much No Org was able to read the situation a little bit quicker and said, right, we're going to push out that mid lane like we should have, gotten some vision control and get dragon priority. They were able to do that faster than Zeus because of how scrambled that fight ended out to be and that their resets were a little bit slower on the draw because of specific carries. Now on that backstage, Big is actually getting caught out.
Yet again, they're going for the Nautilus. TP committed as well. He is still kind of tanky.
Challenge
It takes
Baron.
a little bit of time, but they do finally get that kill. Viper does not TP to join in with the team. And you're right, Baron might be the answer here. Raheen throws in Rhino. They get the ultimate out of Fire. Now he's in some trouble. Raheen gets in onto the Azir. Fire's just out of the fight. This could be Baron.
With that, yeah, that is almost 100% Baron. The only thing is that, we casted last night with Winthrop stealing 2 Barons away. That is definitely in the realm of possibilities with Onda on this back end on that Nidalee. Good call from Alorm to actually space himself properly, and from Rhino as well, saying, you know what, we don't need to be here. We just need Dark Wings and Raheem to be tearing this one apart. So let's go ahead and push out the rest of the members of No Org away. Though with No Org now replying onto that bottom side, this is a good call because they're able to at least control the waves and have strong wave management for Zeus to then reset and then have less time to actually siege and condense the map in their favor. So No Org trying to make some amends, but Zeus coming out massively with his power play.
That's I think the first time that we've actually seen Raheen throw Rhino into a fight there. I've been waiting for when that's going to happen this whole time. Rhino keeps going for these solo engages, but you have the Callista to throw you in there, and Fire understanding right now just how strong that is. Well done by Zeus, having that killer mentality to pull that trigger and then make the play happen afterwards. So, yeah, they lose the bottom turret, but they get the Baron. What can they do with this Baron power play now? 2K in the lead, and it looks like they're going to push mid side and bottom.
Really, for this power play, I'd say you just need to expand that economic advantage. You do not need to look for some additional turrets outside of these tier 2s that are still staying out of the turtle defense of No Org's base, but to take their camps, take all of their jungle, take your jungle, take the scuttles, take everything you can off of the board to choke out the resources from No Org and expand this economic lead. Because at this moment in time, 2.5k isn't nothing. Like it's not anything to really determine the fate of the next few minutes of this game because you're just finishing those 2-item power spikes and you need to get to that next 3-item power spike stage where 2.5k doesn't get that for Zeus just yet, and they need to get some else. But this is risky from Zeus. This is something they just need to cut out, go top side, get that top turret as well. force Viper away, and then try and siege more. But they're playing very ambitious and very aggressive.
They want to use this Baron, man. They really want to break one of these inhibitor turrets, and you can just smell it. The trouble bubble lands. It is into
Viper needs
Anda.
recall.
RBM doesn't want to go for it, but the turret is down. Viper now finally recalling back in. And now the rest of Zeus retreat. Actually, that was a teleport in from Viper. He is all alone, but he is about to go Mega. Gotta watch out if you're Zeus. They do back off. So Viper trades a turret on the top half of the map for all of that, but Zeus do have an open inhibitor on the bottom side. They're feeling great about that. And now doing your plan, Coco, just making all these jungle camps, starving the resources away from No Org so that there's less chance of No Org to get that economy that they desperately need and get back into this game. It's still, though, only about a 2,000 Baron power play. Despite the fact that they got a couple turrets, they really didn't balloon this gold lead to open that much. So for the next couple minutes, it still will be relatively even, and we do have a dragon coming up in 1 minute where we could see an explosive, deciding fight here. Either of these teams have, you know, one turret between an inhibitor or just an open inhibitor that they can push towards if they win a big team fight.
And it is going to be soul point for both No Org and Zeus if it comes down to this challenge. So both of the teams really need to get some sense of control around this dragon. It's 30 seconds, so they've got some room to work with, both Zeus and No Org respectively. But Zeus has that advantage because of the resets and the momentum that they're carrying forward into this contention. And Viper finding that flank. This is where we're talking about Viper and Alorm are those flankers.
Again, it's big! It's the support every time. Zeus just say, that's a Nautilus, it's all alone. Let's engage. But look at the shuttle.
Oh,
look at
Fire!
Fire! Throwing everybody from Zeus in, but there's just no follow-up. Finally, Viper comes in, a 3-man stun. Fire's just free firing throughout this fight. The Azir doing everything now. Viper coming in. It's Value coming in for the damage, but Zeus are fighting back. RBM's running in. There's just no damage left over. It's tank v tank combat, and it's the only DPS left, and it will be enough. RBM cannot carry this one. What a chaotic fight. But at the end of the day, No Org will come out on top. Anda and Viper chase away RBM, and they should earn themselves a dragon.
And pray to Big and Five Fire Gods here today, because they spent so much time and so much space for No Org to reset and continue to reconvene these fights. So Zeus, he's trying to go for the... Well, RBM's trying the 50-50.
Darkwing's up in 9 seconds and has teleport. Alorm's up in 15 seconds, has teleport.
I don't think he
RBM's
gets
just trying
it,
to
no.
buy time. But yeah, Anda's healing up too much. There's just no chance that you get this, right? Viper jumps in. Ooh, holds RBM back.
Okay.
Oh, misses the stun. Unfortunate. Anda's also pretty low. Man, Phoenix come in from Darkwing. Zeus, they say, okay, we lost the dragon, but we can still win this fight. Now TP coming in from Five Fire. Oh no! RBM goes down. Big's joined in. It's disaster for Zeus. Oh, No Org. They get the objective. They pick up a few troll kills at the end of it. And they find themselves in a very powerful position.
And the ambitious and aggressive play style of Zeus has finally nipped them in the butt here because of how risky and really just overly aggressive they are trying to challenge the soul point for. But let's look at that fight. I respect what Rhino is trying to do. He knows that Viper does not have that Mega Gnar just yet, so he tries to find that catch onto Big, but it's not the right target. Yes, Big is constantly getting picked out, but he's super tanky now. We're almost 27 minutes into the game, and from here on out, it was Viper, Five Fire, and Big spending so much time to create this space. And also, I think you have to add in the 6-man as well. This rock, literally in the middle of the jungle, just caused Raheen to never be able to get onto Value and get onto those key members to rip them with those Callista Spears. And it spent that time for Anda to retreat, for Value to retreat, to reset themselves, enter the fight back in again, and they were able to take that one over. Sure, you mess up with a Nidalee hop over the wall right at the very end of that replay, but you're able to get the soul point, so I will pass that off.
Yeah, I just want to say Viper hard carried that fight right there.
Yeah.
He stopped Alorm from coming in, but we don't have time to keep talking about it because now Big might be caught out again. But he is tanky enough to survive right now. So Zeus, they found a couple picks on him, but now that is a more tanky Nautilus. Also has that stopwatch, so can stay alive. We're at a very even game state right now. Neither of these teams have a large gold lead over the other, but Viper's looking for an engage here. He's about to go Mega. Getting that Rage Bar stacked against Rhino. But now with Five Fire dropping that turret mid-side, it is No Org with priority over this Baron. This is the big objective these teams are looking for, and No Org can shred this very fast with this Azir build. He's got the attack speed, he's got the Leandries, and he also have a Kaisa backing you up.
Yeah, he's got Value and Five Fire can just rip this Baron apart, but they both need to be on it to really threaten a quick take, so they have to keep their eyes peeled, keep the head counting going for Zeus Gaming to make sure that none of those players are actually going to be entering into the fray when they do challenge this Baron, and they are positioning for it now, but 5-Fire isn't there. Value is the only one on top of it. It's going to be slower, and it gives Zeus this time to try and find an opening.
Yeah, they're looking for the engage here. They want to get onto 5-Fire. They do. They lock down the Azir. He goes golden. Trying to stay alive. Value jumps in, seeing if he can find anything for this Viper. Trying to lock down members. 5-Fire does fall down. It's just Value left alive as a DPS here for No Org. Maybe Anda can help out as well, but what's going on down here? Alarim takes the 1v1 against Value on the side of the fight. Gets away from Anda as well. Zeus are just running away with this fight right now. No Org were not expecting that. They thought they could sneak the Baron away, but Zeus say, hey, if you're going to split your attention, we'll engage on your mid laner who's all alone in that mid lane. They take an ace. Coco, this is going to be the game. These are long death timers on No Org. We're over 30 minutes into the game. Zeus Gaming, just like that, turned the game on its head, and they're going to take game number 1. What a way to end it.
And with the Nexus falling, you have to ask yourselves, how did we get to this point? No Org, the renowned team with the triple crown as it is, with getting first place and almost up there and Risen, but Zeus able to take him out on top, and we have to go back to the story of these two teams. They are very well familiar with each other, and Zeus has always been able to find the number and find that slight chaotic moment or that slight disparity in No Org's rotations and their very blueprinted format to just, you know, drive a wedge straight into it, rip it open, and then make them play Zeus game. So well done from Zeus to pick this one up, but I can't help but argue with myself saying No Org really dropped the ball in those last crucial moments of the game.
Zeus now pushing their win-loss record to 5-3. Yeah, 5-Fire being alone without Flash in the mid lane when there's a Callista Rel. Definitely something to think about when you're doing a VOD review of that one. But it is still a 3-game series. There is still a chance for No Org to come back, or Zeus can try and close this out and give us an early night here, Coco. We're going to send it over to a short break before the analyst desk comes back in and breaks down more of what exactly happened in that game. We're going to send it to a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Well, last time these two met, it was Zeus Gaming that came out on top. And even though No Org have been on a 12-series undefeated win streak across the entire of Big League and Cup, and then going into, or I guess this is technically their first series back. No,
they played yesterday. Come on, Mark.
Yeah, they played yesterday.
Okay. It's hang on.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, the point we're trying to make is that we were not expecting Zeus to be able to take this game 1, and now with the momentum on their side here, Alec and Loyola, they are poised with match point to take this against Zeus or No Org. So maybe Zeus Gaming are the kryptonite against No Org in particular, or maybe No Org will have something ready to show for this next game too. But I'm going to go to you, Alk, first. I want to get these heat maps up on the screen because we want to talk kind of about the difference of Anda's and RBM's priority throughout the game.
Yeah. we take a look. RBM is on the left, if I'm correct. Yeah. So RBM just had complete control of both sides of his jungle. This was something that when we were looking at this, RBM is more prone to go for these 3 camps into a first gank. And this time around, we didn't see all that much. We got to see him clear a little bit more. And I think when we were looking at Onda's pathing, someone that we typically praise for being really well versed in the jungle, maybe was going for a little bit more than he could, maybe was allowed to get. He was trying to go for that top clear after he got the gank off, and then the Raptor clear was really strange from Onda Loyota.
Yeah, by going for that play, he basically screwed himself on his own time to clear his own camps, and he knew that RBM would be there eventually. And so once he lost that camp, because he's basically gambling that he can take it, because he already messed up by losing the crab, right? And he did 5 camps at the top dive. So he's just kind of panicking a little bit, and he doesn't get a chance to even come back until Zeus does the first dragon.
This sets up the the story for how Zeus Gaming did want to play out this composition that they drafted, because we know that with that Kalista pick coming in for Raheen, we were talking about on the desk that if Zeus Gaming wanted to kind of swing things in their favor, they were going to pick something that was more early game lane dominant dependent here. And by setting Raheen up for success on this Kalista, we see that around the 5-20 minute mark, that first fight going in Raheen's favor here, Elk.
Yeah, and also to note, right before this, we actually see that all of top lane has also just lost their marbles. They're trading solo kills back to back, and we'll see in this kill that Rhino immediately punishes this. We already have RBM coming down for the gank, and they're able to find this. The really big part of this, we'll see this in another one, we'll see this time and time again for Zeus, where they're finding Big in these weird positions. They're able to kill him, and I think this really hampered their ability on the side of No Org to kind of just allow Big to influence the map. Is one of the biggest things that we always praise him for, and not being able to get into Firefire's lane, not even able to help maybe Onda or Viper, really started to kind of just set back their game plan, and we saw them kind of had to get down in the mud with Zoo.
And then going around the 8-minute mark, even though that we did see that there is a lot of commotion going on the top side of the map, that Anda was still focusing on getting Viper ahead. This is where a continuation of this snowball for Raheen. Once you're level 6 on this Kalista here, Loyo, you have a lot of agency to be able to pick fights, and then combining that with the powers a champion like Rel, you have so much crowd control and lockdown that they're able to punish Big getting caught out inside of his jungle.
Yeah, and what's even even better about that play is that they know that Big is trying to look for these timers to just dip out of bot, especially because it's already going bad, right? When you're playing solo queue and your lane is terrible in bot lane, the support always leaves, right?
Goodbye. See ya.
They always leave. They're just you know what, I'm done here. I'm gonna do my own thing. You deal with it. And they just caught Big, and it was great.
Now, it was a little difficult for the members of Zeus Gaming to close out this game earlier because, there was concerns during the mid-game fights as once the mountain map came to place, it gave Viper's Gnar a lot of places to find some clutch ultimates to stall out, and there was a concern from you, Loyota, that if No Org were able to consistently continue trading out or going even in these fights, then they're going to be able to stall out the game long enough. But eventually, Zeus Gaming found one solid fight around the 30-minute mark, and it did eventually led them to closing out the game.
Yeah, with the way their comps work, clearly Zeus, once they get ahead, they have to get ahead. Yes. If they don't, then they pretty much can just FF. It shouldn't work. It's nittily as Azir. Yeah. It's not going to be easy. But they found the edge. They kept pushing, and you got to commend them for that.
Now as we're what's up, Al?
Go. No. I'll save it for a little bit.
You'll save your thoughts for the when it really matters. But we are getting ready for game 2 in just a few more minutes here, gentlemen. And one of the things that No Org now kind of have to bounce back from is the fact that Zeus Gaming are ready to invest resources into playing a strong side bottom lane, which, Zeus Gaming, sometimes they've done, sometimes they really haven't, but overall, I have to really commend Zeus Gaming just for the overall evolution of this team, going from a team that just kind of played for for mid-late games, hoping to handshake and then just see if they could play team fights better under the leadership of Alorum, to then we seeing RBM pick early game aggressive junglers like Lee Sin, and now them putting more resources into Raheen, who is, you know, an amateur ADC player that we have given a lot of respect to time and time again, who's always willing to go forward. And if Zeus Gaming is able to completely supplement that and play towards his natural confidence in those fights, then you can continue investing into that bottom side. And so my question for you, Alk, is what kind of pivot do we see from No Org? Do they completely swap to the bottom side, or are they just going to continue going harder on getting Viper ahead on something that is far more volatile than the Gnar?
I'll be honest, I'm going to just say this game 1 is 1 in a million of that happening. I will just say that some of the inconsistencies of No Org can pop up from time to time, but I think if we played that game 100 times over, that is one of that kind of game happens less frequently than No Org winning it. I think that they just kind of caught them on a back foot. I will just say that also this was very much an uncharacteristic performance coming out from Onda, and coming into game 2, I think No Org are going to just kind of settle down, keep their heads kind of locked onto their shoulders and say, let's play our game, don't get lost into what Zoo want to do, and let's try to kind of bring back a victory for us.
Leota, I didn't know if you had any thoughts about what No Org should be looking to do to change up their adaptation, or if you're in the same party as Alk, you know, they don't really need to change anything, they just need to make sure that they're executing things better this next time.
I think the fact that Zeus did a kind of a swap where they were thinking more about doing like scaling team fights before, and now suddenly they were doing like almost full early game with a very bot-centric to kind of clip big. I think that's going to make you start thinking a little bit about what can we ban to help our bot lane out, because you can play weak side bot lane, but if they're just getting rammed constantly, like, it's whatever you do top lane is probably not going to fix what's happening bot lane.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to really figure out what they're gonna do with the Callista pick. That's for sure.
Is there a move or a vote to just ban the Callista this time around, or or do we see Value pick up? Because Value has actually has some early ADC picks of his own. He's been able to pick things like the Misfortune. I don't want to say that he has a Draven. I know Raheen has a Draven, and I keep going to this Draven pick because it's. I just
Draven fan lately?
Hey, come on, man. You know, Draven's super cool.
No.
You just chuck axes. But what's up here? We've got a couple minutes left before the game 2 goes underway for the draft. But, you know, I'm really curious to see if Anda goes back to this Nidalee, because it is obviously a comfort pick for him. And I think Anda didn't really do anything wrong that game. He was by far one of the reasons that they kept themselves so long in that game. I actually kind of have to point things at Firefire. There's a couple times where he got caught out in skirmishes and fights before the fight even started, and so he wasn't able to contribute the damage and the utility that Azir should be bringing to those fights there, Al.
I will just say that is definitely a jungle mentality. Blame my mid laner. It must be a mid difference.
No. Look,
Difference.
Anda had an 8-0 and 5 KDA before he finally gave up his first death. Like, I don't know about you, but like, he is trying his hardest.
He gets to stay at 800 ranges Nidalee. That's all I'm going to say. He does not have to jump in.
the end of time in that game, man. That, like, come on. I don't know what you want.
It must be mid difference if you're the jungler. Oh boy.
Well, we, our casters in Kangas and Coco, are on standby for Game 2 to begin in just a few seconds. So make sure, folks, though, we're going to have to take a quick break as we swap over just to make sure everything's good on production ends. But don't close that tab, folks. We'll be right back with Game 2.